I'm concerned that some of my Senate colleagues maybe not fully appreciate the policy of assured access to space. General Welch, could you just describe this concept and explain why it's so important to maintain at least 2 qualified and reliable launch vehicles capable of servicing Air Force requirements?
Senator, if I could, let me start with, from an operational perspective, why assured access is so critical, and then ask the boss to follow up with some of the details that she's been leading the charge on, I think, in the department on how do you make that reality. From a warfighter's perspective, the idea of doing anything that we do in the United States military anywhere on Earth without the support we get from assets in space is a non-starter. Everything from precision of weapons to navigation to timing of operations to controlled and encrypted communication, everything relies on assets that are now on orbit in space. And so the ability to replace them when necessary, to augment them, to supplement capabilities with sensors and new communications links is absolutely essential to the vision of future warfare for us. And boss, let me turn it over to you from there.
Madam Secretary, go ahead.
And to me, and I think to those of us who have studied it, assured access to space means that it's absolutely critical that we have at least 2 separate pathways, 2 separate ways to power us into space. If you're reduced to one single way, that's equivalent of putting all your eggs in one basket, and if something goes wrong, you can be shut down for months or even years. So for those who may think back to the period of the late 1990s, we had such a period of time where we lost billions of dollars worth of critical satellite assets. There were accidents and so forth, and we were literally shut down, if my memory serves, for about 18 months where we could not get to space. So we have said that we must have 2 different pathways. It's the #1 priority for those of us who are focused on space, and we've got to get this right because the stakes are high, just as the chief said.
Secretary James, you got into this earlier and touched on it briefly then. Could you offer your opinion on the wisdom of the proposal that would eliminate the Air Force use of the RD-180 prior to having a reliable replacement that ensures our continued access? In other words, would there be a gap there?
I worry that there would be a gap. I believe we need reasonable flexibility as we all work to get off of the Russian engine. I want to reaffirm we're very much interested and we're working hard to get off that reliance on the Russian engine. But until we do, it's important that we have reasonable flexibility because of assured access to space.
I think we all would accept the basic premise. We want to build our own engine. We shouldn't rely on the Russians or anybody else. Is that correct?
We want our own capability. That's right. And I only use that word capability vice engine because an engine is a component.
I know, of the capability.
The capability,
the General
yes.
alluded to that earlier. Give us up to date as much as you can, knowing this is the building of a rocket, an engine, and this magnitude is a difficult, very tedious thing. Where are we? You know, you mentioned the funding. This committee has funded more than the administration asked for because the sooner the better. But sometimes you can't rush technology, but the sooner the better. Where are we and how long will it be in your judgment?
What I have learned is that these are extremely difficult technical problems, as you say, and it's not quite as easy as simply reverse engineering an existing engine or anything of that nature. It really, really is hard science. Now, the good news is industry isn't starting from a cold start. They had already been making developments, and so what we want to do is leverage that development with some of our money, and that's what a public-private partnership is all about. Experts tell me that it is technically possible to get this done by FY19. That's what we're charging toward. That's what the law has told us to do, and we're working toward that. It'll be challenging. It's a risky proposition to have it done by 19, but it's possible, and that's our objective. But an engine alone, I want to come back to, an engine alone is not a total capability. So even after we have a new engine developed, it has to be integrated with a rocket properly. It has to be tested and certified. So we project that it'll be longer than FY19 before we have that total capability to power us into space.
But without the engine, the Russian engine right now, there could be a gap, as I mentioned, in national security, working with our Air Force, everything else. Could it be?
I worry about that, yes.
Thank you. Do you share that, General Welch?
Yes, sir. I think the idea of assured access to space is a common,
Very
everyone agrees with it, but that's important.
Thank you. Thank you.